Preparing a place for your garden isn't an easy task. It often requires elbow grease, sweat, and maybe tears. Not to mention, it can be hard on your wallet. Like any investment, we enjoy large returns, don't we? It's always nice to see our retirement savings gain through a well-thought-out investment portfolio. Perhaps not so much in a pandemic, but hopefully you remember what it was like. So the question is, do you consider your garden an investment? And if you do, have you created an investment portfolio to maximize its returns? An investment portfolio for a garden? You can't be serious.
Well, absolutely. Have you ever thought about creating a plan to maximize yields from your garden? Sure, it sounds daunting, but it isn't all guesswork. Some things to consider are the number of growing days from first to last frost, as well as the days to maturity of each crop that is going to be planted. By understanding the amount of food needed for your family, the farmer's market, or if you're planning to preserve produce, a plan can be made to maximize your garden yields. The planting schedule we're referring to is known as succession planting. It's a calendar of events for your garden that keeps each area productive from frost to frost and beyond with season extension practices and the right crops. It will help make every garden more productive and can transform small backyard gardens into significant sources of fresh fruits and vegetables for you and your family. Once you know your USDA plant hardiness zone, the number of frost-free days for your area can be sourced in the WVU Extension Garden Calendar, your local WVU Extension office, and other reputable sources. The WVU Extension Garden Calendar is a great source of information for many planting dates that you'll need as you develop your garden's plan. Creating a plan for succession gardening can take the form of a calendar, a 4-column table listing crops and days to maturity, or an assortment of internet-sourced templates and garden planning apps. As you are looking through these templates and planning apps, be sure to select reputable sources or those receiving high reviews. There are a few different methods to succession gardening, such as having several plantings of the same vegetable, using different varieties of the same vegetable with varied days to maturity, as well as rotating from cool to warm season crops. For fast-maturing plants like radishes and lettuce, you may want to have several different plantings over a longer period so that you can harvest as needed for your family or the farmer's market. This allows determinate plants, which are plants that bear their crop all at once, to have multiple harvest dates over a longer period. This can be utilized with other vegetables such as carrots, onions, and determinate varieties of tomatoes. Another method to use is to plant multiple varieties of the same crop that have different days to maturity. With this method, you'll plan to plant all of your crop at one time and still be able to harvest over a longer period. Let's consider 3 different varieties of sweet corn. Early Sunglow has a maturity of 66 days. Ambrosia has a maturity of 75 days, whereas Silver Queen's days to maturity is 86. If you plant all these varieties on the same day, you should be able to harvest with roughly 10 days between each harvest. This may not sound like a lot, but it gives you the flexibility to share with neighbors and can also allow you to choose different varieties according to their best use. As the plants are harvested, you can use the space to plant cool season crops like radishes, turnips, beets, lettuce, and cold crops like cabbage, broccoli, or kale. A simple way to maximize the return from your garden is to rotate from cool season to warm season and back to cool season plants. For example, you may plant one area with peas and once those are harvested, plant squash or corn, then finish out the growing season with kale. Let's take a look at the following example for one garden area. For the purpose of this example, let's assume that you're in Zone 6B and have approximately 180 frost-free days. In your designated garden space, if you begin by planting Oregon Sugar Snap peas, they will mature in 64 days. Once harvested, fill the same space with sweet corn. Let's use the variety Delicious for this example, which has a maturity of 78 days. Once you've harvested the sweet corn, replant the area in a cool season crop like red rush and kale. With a maturity time of 60 days, it allows you to fill the remaining grow days productively for your zone. What's more, some cool season crops like kale can withstand light frost, making them excellent choices for finishing the growing season. As a matter of fact, frost makes them sweeter. You may have red rush and kale for Thanksgiving or even Christmas. Crop rotation is vital to the success of your garden, whether you choose to succession plant or not. By rotating areas of closely related crops, you will help prevent pest and disease buildup. For example, if you are planting cucumbers over and over in the same area, cucumber beetles or diseases like powdery mildew will eventually take hold and reduce plant productivity. It is important to consider plant families as well. Tomatoes and potatoes are closely related and attract many of the same pests and diseases, so you may want to keep them distant in your garden. You may be thinking, this all sounds great, but how much should I plant if I'm just planning on starting a garden to feed my family? Thankfully, WVU Extension has a guide on how much to plant for each member of your family. Let's consider planting tomatoes for your family. According to the chart, you'll need 3 to 5 tomatoes per person. Since you plan to preserve some of the harvest, it's up to your discretion to decide on how much extra to plant over each person's need.
Gardening is a serious investment of time and money. Succession planting, in a nutshell, is simply making sure that every square inch of your garden is productive from frost to frost. It sounds simple, but in reality it's quite challenging. With proper planning, you too can develop a portfolio that will enable you to make the most return on your time and financial investment. Happy gardening!